One of the major aspects of any wrestling promotion is when a wrestler who has been out of action for a while makes their return. The wrestler's comeback is something fans wait for, and the moments of their return are usually some of the best. Over the years, there have been many such returns, like Edge's at the 2020 Royal Rumble, John Cena's after his recovery from his pectoral muscle injury, and many others. However, there have been returns that everyone was waiting for yet did not go to plan simply because of poor booking. These returns ended up not only disappointing fans, but ruining whatever storylines that had started, leading to some of the worst moments in history. This is Wrestling Hub, and here are returns that everyone wanted, but they sucked. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official, and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. There is no question about it, the New World Order was one of the most memorable stables in the 90s when Kevin Nash and Scott Hall began their reign of dominance. While the two were close pals with WWE's Shawn Michaels and Triple H, with whom they had formed The Clique, they still opted out of the company in '96 to work for WWE's competition, WCW. Here they formed a new clique with a legend, Hulk Hogan. Calling themselves the NWO, they had different looks, but the original influence of these three was something few had seen. After all, they helped WCW beat WWE in ratings 83 weeks in a row, which is why a second coming of the stable would have been nothing short of legendary. WWE bought WCW in 2001, after which the NWO moved to WWE in 2002 as a part of No Way Out. So why did they fail in WWE? Perhaps if they were able to bring in Eric Bischoff for the angle, it might have worked, but the way it played out on TV really felt forced and unnatural. They had come back as the heel NWO, and fans could obviously not boo the trio considering they were returning to WWE after such a long time, but the trio's run did not go anywhere. After Mania 18, Hulk Hogan decided to quit the faction, turning babyface after losing to The Rock. He was replaced by X-Pac and Big Show in the NWO. Still, this angle did not work out well, and they ended up fizzling out soon after. Goldberg had not left WWE under the best circumstances, and absence does make the heart grow fonder. In 2004, his last match had been one that fans had waited for a long time, with him facing Brock Lesnar. However, when the match came to pass, it was one of the more difficult bouts to watch. Not only was Lesnar leaving the next day, so was Goldberg, and by this time it was public knowledge. So when Goldberg challenged Lesnar to a match on mainstream media and then returned to face him, it was a huge deal. The actual return went off brilliantly, with Goldberg hitting Lesnar with 2 spears and a jackhammer before putting him down for the 1-2-3. But what came after was an issue. Goldberg's return was supposed to be a one-off match against Lesnar. Still, he was sticking around and defeated Kevin Owens at Fastlane and won the Universal title, taking the belt and a Mania main event spot away from the much more compelling story surrounding the Festival of Friendship with Chris Jericho. Ever since then, with the exception of his match against Lashley and his feud against Ziggler, Goldberg has done nothing in WWE other than stink the place up. He should be retired by now, but his return has turned out to be one of the worst of all time. There was a lot of hype around Del Rio following his debut. He went on to win his first championship and was considered to be the next big superstar. On May 9th, he was charged with a second-degree sexual assault felony in Bexar County. While those were dropped, he was released by WWE in 2014 after he slapped a former social media manager for apparently making a racist remark. He was then given a chance to come back in 2015 when his career took another tumultuous turn because of his relationship with WWE star Paige. He hit her at an Orlando International Airport in 2017, where he was detained for domestic battery. However, he was released. He was also suspended by WWE in 2016 because he violated the wellness policy. After his return to the wrestling scene in 2016, he chose to perform in the independent circuit and joined Impact Wrestling. He recently dropped hints regarding another stint with WWE, but the company seems to be clueless about it. If there has ever been a case of WWE having a prize on their hands which could turn their fortunes around, but then simply refusing to see that and turning it into a curse, that is the case with Becky Lynch. When Lynch found out that she was pregnant and left, the fans came to miss her more and more. At SummerSlam with crowds back, WWE had everything in place for what could be one of the biggest returns. Instead, they decided to have her fill in on a story that no one really cared about and had her squash a babyface champion everyone had grown to love, while turning her heel. How can someone do so many things wrong in such a short amount of time? Well, you'd have to ask the WWE creative team. They booked Becky to come back as a heel and beat Belair in 26 seconds. It not only hurt Bianca's standing as a top name, it hurt Lynch, with her run as a heel being a disappointment. In 2006, Kurt Angle had become a part of the ECW brand. He went by the Wrestling Machine and performed in some pretty great matches against stars like Randy Orton, Rob Van Dam, and Sabu. The multi-time champion decided to leave WWE that year, citing health concerns. Angle was granted his release on August 25, 2006. However, strangely enough, the Olympic gold medalist signed a contract with TNA shortly after, and then wrestled in November. He also developed serious addiction issues, and his professional relationship with Vince McMahon became strained. After spending a few years wrestling elsewhere, he returned to WWE in 2017 for his next stint. He even managed to get a Hall of Fame induction. He hasn't stepped into the ring since WrestleMania 35 after being defeated by Baron Corbin. He did stay on as a backstage producer, but with the onset of the pandemic, he opted to take a leave of absence. It was supposed to be a temporary decision. He also declined an offer to be Riddle's manager. However, it doesn't seem to be the end for him. He confirmed he has something going on with WWE and claims there is nothing going on with AEW. He said, "Well, my relationship with WWE is really good and I like to keep it that way." The star has been in the news concerning these speculations, but it seems if he was to join WWE again, it would probably be a part of a farewell tour. He did decline a full-time deal due to his body not being able to deal with a full-time schedule. Bobby Lashley chose to quit wrestling and shift to MMA when he lost a #1 contenders match to Matt Sydal at Destination X. He failed to recapture his title in the Gauntlet for the Gold and decided this was the time to make his move. After 10 years, he finally returned to WWE following WrestleMania 34. This could have been a big comeback, but he wasn't given the push fans imagined. His first stint with WWE was for around 3 years, and in that short span, he managed to win the ECW title, perform in a high-profile feud at Mania 23 with Vince McMahon, and ended up in the WWE Championship hunt quicker than most. He chose to leave WWE to pursue other interests. During that decade, he worked for TNA and trained in mixed martial arts. His fans never forgot him, unlike most stars who lose their fan base. He was able to earn the respect of the wrestling community because he was constantly learning and improving his skills alongside his successful MMA career. He decided to avoid the title scene again, which is why his return segment was with Elias. The Drifter was definitely one of the most over acts on the roster, but he was a mid-card star. While his later run would be more impressive, during his initial run partnered with Lio Rush, Lashley was a shadow of what he could be. He would spend a long time in the mid-card and in stupid storylines, but he finally got to a better place holding the WWE title. The Dudley Boyz are the only tag team to ever hold the WWE, WCW, NWA, TNA, ECW, and IWGP Tag Team Championships. They first left WWE in 2005. Barbara Ray claimed they failed to come to terms with WWE's new deal, after which the company said they were released. They could not take their WWE names with them when they moved to TNA, as WWE had bought ECW intellectual property out of bankruptcy court. Their TNA names were Brother Ray and Brother Devin, or the Dudley Boyz. Devon did say that their return to WWE was inevitable, as they always planned to go back. Later in 2016, after a brief comeback, Devon said they decided to leave so Bubba could explore different avenues, even though Devon wanted to stay. In 2018, Edge and Christian inducted the Dudley Boyz into the WWE Hall of Fame. At this time, Devon had retired from wrestling and Bubba was still going strong. Considering all their success, one might have thought their recent return would be no different. Though fans were in for a disappointment, it seems WWE only booked them as a nostalgia act, and they were never really pushed to become anything more. They just could not steal the spotlight, and it definitely hadn't been easy considering the ever-evolving gimmick by Big E, Kofi Kingston, and Xavier Woods. They have managed to master the art of getting on the crowd's nerves and have been the highlight of the tag team scene for quite a while now. They know how to celebrate and showboat extremely well, but they are missing a compelling rival. With his brother Jeff, Matt Hardy is responsible for many matches and angles that fans have fallen in love with over the years. However, when it came to his time in WWE following his return, it didn't really work out. Matt left WWE a long time ago, and for years away from the company, he had innovated who he was. No longer was he the older brother of the charismatic enigma Jeff Hardy. With the broken gimmick, he differentiated himself, and at the time when Impact was flailing around looking for anything to steady themselves, he was the steadying hand. Thus, when rumors started to swirl he was returning to WWE, it was a huge deal. Despite not appearing in that gimmick in WWE upon his return at WrestleMania 33, the Hardy Boys were cheered by the 75,000 fans present in the arena, and he was greeted with chants of delete, 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 his broken personas chant. It was clear that was what fans wanted, but the issue was Impact owned the rights of that persona. WWE did not turn him into that character immediately and kept him in his Team Extreme form, something fans appreciated, especially because they were tag champions, but it was a disappointment. Once the novelty wore off, Matt didn't find a place in WWE. His woken persona was a shadow of what the broken one had been. He was not given the creative license to express himself in the way he wanted, and that led to him leaving. All told, his return, which could have been one of the biggest occurrences for WWE, ended on a sad and somber note. Batista is one of the most popular stars to have wrestled in WWE, and this was a time when he was done putting the finishing touches to his Drax character in Guardians of the Galaxy. He was returning to WWE soon after that, having made a deal with himself to not come back until he made it big in Hollywood. Vince McMahon pictured Batista wearing the suit and toting the WWE title with him when he went to the Marvel film's premiere, but it was not to be. He came back on Raw to confront Randy Orton and Alberto Del Rio, and then won the disastrous 2014 Royal Rumble. Fans had been waiting for Daniel Bryan to win, but him not even being a part of it was the worst thing that could have happened. As a result, he was booed out of the building and mocked by being called Blue Tista for his blue gear. In the end, it was Bryan who won the title at WrestleMania, and Batista was a clear heel. It was a time when WWE could have booked him away from the spotlight and the return might have gone better, but in the way they booked it, it failed. ECW was the biggest hardcore wrestling promotion, and when Vince McMahon was convinced to bring it back, it could have been amazing. After the success of ECW's 2 one-night stand events, WWE decided they would bring it back as a brand. They brought in the ECW originals, Tommy Dreamer, Rob Van Dam, Sandman, and Sabu. But then instead of the originals, the show was built around wrestlers like Jack Swagger, Mark Henry, Ezekiel Jackson, and more. The hardcore ECW fans went away and they never returned. WWE brought it to a close after 3 painful years, and because of the way they booked the brand, they probably lost more fans than they will ever know. And these were returns everyone wanted, but they sucked. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.